Hello everyone.
Hello.
I'm Tony.
And I'm Tally.
And we are
the Lazy Book Lovers.
This is a podcast for book lovers who procrastinate about reading and have never-ending to-be-read files. Today is part 2 of our latest reading update. So if you haven't listened to part 1, like, who are you? Go back, please. Who do you think you are? Yes, this is part 2 of what we've been reading lately. It's not of a specific month because of the way we record these. This is like August reads or something. It's just like how many weeks it's been since our last reading update. That's what we've read.
Yeah, it's just, if you want to follow more closely, I would suggest going to our story graphs, which are linked in our card.
Or each of us have Instagram where we post about this stuff as well.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very disorganised on my story graph. It's just chaos.
I've been really trying with mine. The streak feature is chasing me. It's getting me. I managed to, because it's not the case of that I'm not reading, it's that I'm remembering to update it. Mm-hmm. And I made it to 18 days. The furthest I made it was 18 days. And I've been chasing that ever since.
Yeah. Chasing that high.
Just like that nice little dopamine kick of like, oh, flame, you've got a streak. And I'm like, yay.
Yeah, I've not had that flame for a while.
Yeah.
I think January.
I'm determined. Especially like while I'm not working, I'm like, no.
I will get you.
I will do this. Do you want to go first? Because you have more?
Okay, yeah. So, I read a couple of middle grades this month.
Okay.
I'm on my middle grade.
You're in the middle grade.
Yeah, and I like them as a nice transitional piece for my summer to my spooky reads. Because middle grade is spoopy.
Yeah, you're ready for spoopy times.
Yeah, so they're like my little transitional. Anyway.
You're so ready for the weather to turn.
When we had that autumn weather, I was like, yes, happy.
Yeah, we had like a week of autumn and then summer came back.
Yeah, I was like already dreaming of my jumpers. I was like pulling out my mugs to the front that are like more autumny and just
ruined.
It tricked me. So I read Spellcasters by Crystal Sung. This was part of a tour. And so this follows a young girl called Jenny who has just moved to... her parents are working away or something, and she's just moved in with her grandparents in a new town. So she's the new girl at school and she's worried that she's not going to make friends, etc. And she ends up making 3 new friends, and they form a band, which they call the Spellcasters. And on her first day of school, something happens that unlocks like magical powers all the girls have through their ancestry. So it's a very diverse book in terms of the characters. They're all from different heritages.
Plural, yeah.
And they unlock like magical powers that will come through their ancestors, and they use these magical powers to fight a ancient evil spirit that gets accidentally released in the town. And it's really cute and it's really fun and it's all about friendship. And they have that, and it's the start of a series.
Of course it is.
Of course, yeah. And they need to stop an evil spirit, and they need to save the local community centre, and that's the stakes of the book. And I forgot how much I love middle grade because it's just cute.
Because the stakes aren't like life and death. It's just like save the community centre. Yeah, cute.
It's for readers 7 and up, but I was trying to get my son to read it with me. I was like, we can do a chapter a night, and he is at this horrible little stage that he's picked up from school where he didn't want to read it because it's about girls.
Stupid girls.
So I was like, well, whoever told you that at school is stupid.
It's a silly boo.
Stupid boys at school.
Stupid boy books.
Maybe in the future he'll let me read it.
Maybe.
I really want to read the Edge Chronicles to him, but I'm worried they're a bit... I mean, they're middle grade, so they're actually like age 7 or 8 upwards, aren't they? I'm worried maybe they might be a little too scary. So I think this winter as a gift to myself, I'm going to reread all the series. Not as a gift to myself, sorry. To check if it's safe to read to my son.
Yeah, it is a gift for yourself, though.
Yeah. And
maybe
I
when
can't wait to read them to him.
Maybe when you reread, I should read, because I bought the series in there.
Have you got them?
Okay.
Yes, you did.
Do you want to try reading that? Every time we try and buddy read, it fails epically because we're always in different spaces.
Oh my god, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Done.
Right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so check it out. It was cute. Read it to your kids if they're not silly about girls.
Silly girls. So, should I do mine?
Yeah, go on.
So, I'm going to squidge two together.
Mm-hmm.
So, I listened to books 4 and 5 in the Waldo Rabbit series by Nelson Teresa. If you've listened to any of our previous reading updates, you know, you've heard me talk about this before. But basically, Waldo is from a country of sorcerers that are all into necromancy. There's 7 powerful families that rule them. He is the heir to one of them, and all the powerful families were like, he's half white mage, we don't believe he can rule. And you have to do your first quest before you're allowed to be declared officially heir. And they set impossible rules for his first quest.
Did you mention it? He's a rabbit.
He's not a rabbit.
Oh, is he not a rabbit? I thought he was a rabbit.
I have explained the rabbit thing to you, but I will do it again for the benefit.
Please, because I've forgotten and I'm still picturing him as a rabbit.
No, he's a person. Why would he be a rabbit?
Because he's called Waldo Rabbit.
Okay.
Wait, this whole time
you've been picturing a rabbit this rabbit dark sorcerer.
Mm-hmm. And when you were talking about him and his sexy wife or whatever,
his succubus wife.
Yeah, I was thinking he was a rabbit this whole time.
You're just picturing a fluffy white rabbit. The whole time I've been talking about this book for months. At no point did you query that.
Did I never question it? No, it just made sense to me.
No, okay. The reason he's called Waldo Rabbit, so Rabbit isn't his real surname. His first name's Waldo, and he's from the Corpse Lover family. So he would be Waldo Corpse Lover. That's his real name. But then when he crosses into other countries that aren't ruled by dark sorcerers, that have different morals, I guess. And he crosses into there and he sees a rabbit and he finds them terrifying.
Yeah.
So then what he does to be able to because white mages are from a different country called Avalon, and they go around and help people. So people sort of begrudgingly give them a lot of privileges because they're powerful, and they help people for free. So everyone's a bit suspicious of them, but allow them a lot of freedoms.
Weird.
That's suspicious. So basically Waldo figures out that if he goes around pretending to be a white mage, but really does terrible things to ruin their name, he's like, it will make me look good in the eyes of everyone back home.
I remember this now, yeah.
And because he found rabbits terrifying, he was out of being named after the most terrifying creature on Earth, Rabbit, and his wife, the succubus, doesn't have the heart to tell him.
I remember that.
Basically.
But also I've been picturing him as a rabbit every step of this way.
Well, good job. He wears a white robe, so close.
So I was literally picturing him with a human wife and a rabbit, and I didn't question it.
Yeah, and a troll that likes to be whipped.
Yeah, is it weird I didn't question it?
No,
it's not, is it?
Yeah, it might be.
I mean, it sounds like a fun fantasy.
It's probably
book,
fine.
So, yeah.
It's what the book is what you make of it, I guess.
Yeah. When I listen to it, I'm going to picture him as a rabbit.
Yeah. So we've been following Waldo as he completes the terms of his quest, basically. So he has to get 3 great monsters bound to him as familiars. The first one is the succubus that he accidentally marries. But not
find that funny.
Not according to the laws of his country, according to the laws of hers. And he's just quietly not mentioning the fact that when they go home to his country, they're technically not married. She's just a familiar. And he's afraid of what will happen. And basically, usually the rules with your familiars that you bind to you is they have to obey you without question, and they can't hurt you. But Alice will quite happily just kick him and will disobey him.
As you do.
Yeah. And she doesn't want to use her succubus powers against people, and he's always like, but why? Because he's from a land of dark sorcerers who are quite, liberal about. And they have sex slaves they choose to be sex slaves, and they quite enjoy their lives as sex slaves. And then he gets part of his education is learning how to take care of sex slaves. So he's quite casual about these sorts of things. And he's been shown how to, like, torture for, like, torturing reasons and torture for pleasurable reasons. And then his second familiar is a troll? Or a ogre. Who likes to be whipped sexually. And he's just like, you did a good job today, Gronk. What would you like to do today? And then they have, like, weird names for the different torture techniques. And he's like, tonight we're going to do sailor and something. And he's like, yes! And he's just going about fulfilling his quest and leaving, like, literal, like, chaos in his wake. So the book, before book 4, he had gone to a specific city in the hope of finding a map that would tell him where a dragon is, because getting a dragon egg is one of the terms of his thing.
Is he in a world like ours?
No.
No, okay.
It's like a made-up world.
Okay.
So he was in Alice's country, and now he's moved on to a different country. And he's gone to this, and it's this golden city, and it's famed for its wealth world over, and he gets there, and it's all magical artifice that's made the walls golden and stuff. This is book 3. And he's like, I just want a map so I can go find this dragon. So he makes a deal with these elves that no one likes, and everyone's like, why is a white mage making deals with elves? They don't like elves. And he's like, because we're taking over the world. He also invents a religion just to practice lying. But that lie is so successful, it starts a rebellion. And then he just leaves the city with a rebellion in his wake. Yeah. There is an actual white mage he's come across and basically accidentally made fall in love with him by making too much of a powerful love potion. So she hates everything he stands for. She doesn't know he's a dark sorcerer. She thinks he's a white mage gone rogue.
Yeah.
And she's determined to save him because she loves him so much. And then she stays behind. So for book 4, she stayed behind in the city he's basically ruined and taken control of the city. And so there's a secondary storyline following her and, like, the stuff like that. She manages to bind Waldo to her, but not in the same way as it is with familiars. It's different. So she like always knows where he is, but he's too far away, and she's trying to deal with the wreckage he left behind because she's like, I'm a good person. And they go off to find their dragon, basically. And then he finds the dragon, and the dragon is a drunk.
Of course.
She's like, I'm only 200. I'm like, not having a baby yet. Like, why would I have a dragon's egg? She's like, I'm only young.
That's brilliant.
And he's trying to persuade her to become his third familiar, basically. That's where we were for book 5. It's just silly, goofy, fun fantasy stuff. Yeah. It's just quite funny. There's lots of, like, little sarky moments. Like, it's very Terry Pratchett.
A mixture of Terry Pratchett and, like, Monty Python or something.
Yeah, that's pretty, like, I don't think, we looked this up before, is Downton Teresa British or not?
Yeah, I think so.
But it feels very British humour. Yeah, I don't know, it's just silly, goofy fun, and there's lots of things, like, where his succubus wife is quite a prude, and then he's not been raised with prudish stuff, and he's always getting into trouble, but he's been like, oh, well, if you need to, like, satisfy your lust urges as a succubus, go sleep around, and she's like, but I'm your wife, and he's like...
No, he's American.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's very British humour, yeah. And she's like, but I'm your wife, I shouldn't sleep around, and he's like, why, though? And she's like, because I'm your wife. You're supposed to care if other men look at me or want to touch me. And he's like, why though? That sounds like an effort. He's like, but you're a succubus. And also, it's like, we don't have the same rules about fidelity, so... And he's like, when we go back to my country, we won't really be married, and my mother is going to make me marry a sorceress, and you're going to be pissed off, and I can have multiple wives. I'm allowed to have multiple wives, so I can then marry you, but you will not be...
You will not be impressed.
But she doesn't know that. And she's very defensive of him. She's very protective / what's the word I'm looking for?
Possessive,
thank you. Because they, like, meet a pretty princess that he's supposed to rescue while he's pretending to be a white maid, and Alice is just, like, squints eyes at him, and she tries to seduce Waldo, and Alice is, like, gone from saying we should save the fragile princess to she drops the princess out of a window.
What?
She's like, no, she jumped, and Waldo's just like, I couldn't give a shit.
Yeah, like, I literally don't care.
Like, death does not bother me.
Whatever, moving on. Oh, Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, they are very good fun. Only a couple of them are for free on Audible, and the rest are paid. So that's why it's taken me so long to get through them. But this is all the ones that are currently out. I did have a snoop on the author's Facebook page, which I've now followed, and he is writing the next one.
Yeah, it's weird that his social media is Facebook.
I know. It's very old-fashioned. Yeah. And there's only like 250 followers on the thing.
So random, isn't it?
That's why all my reviews that I've posted of this so far, I've got... Oh no, I haven't done reviews of this one. It's the other one. But anyway, I think I'll be one of the few people that get hits for this when I do post it on my blog. Yeah, they are good fun. I enjoyed them. Please go listen.
Yeah, I'll definitely listen to the free ones at least, and then I'll probably get addicted and want to carry on.
I think I listened to the last one on Scribd. So they might all be free on Scribd, maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Rabbit the Barbarian, the last one that I just listened to, was on Scribd.
Oh, they're all on there.
They're no excuse. And they're all really short.
Yeah. Although my priority for listening to lots of audiobooks this month is Skullduggery.
Yeah.
Right.
Can't face Derek Landy a year and a half after we first met him, and he's like, no, I still haven't got past halfway through book 12.
Book. Yeah. Not that he'll know, but he won't.
I don't know. He might remember us. You don't know. You probably won't remember us.
I don't know. It depends on how many people he met that were like, we love your girlfriend.
Which is like the first thing. So sad Laura's not here.
Yeah, we're so sad your girlfriend's
do you reckon Laura will be on that tour?
That'd be amazing.
That'd be really fun.
Okay, so I read, as part of the romance reader long I'm doing with Tandem Collective. I feel like my voice got really croaky. I read Wanderlust by Elle Everhart. Oh, my throat really hurts suddenly. So this is a 4-month romance readathon I've been doing with them, and this was this month's read along. So it follows a woman called Dylan, who's a magazine writer, and she kind of like hates her life, basically. Well, not hates her life, but she's having a rough time. So she writes for a magazine called like Buxom, I think it's called, and it has a lot of like sex tips and stuff like that, kind of like
one of those
Cosmo
magazines.
Yeah. And she has had a bit of a rough experience, which is kind of mentioned at the beginning, and you find out about it as you go along. But basically, like when they were doing the abortion votes in Ireland, this is based in London, so she's British, and when they did the abortion referendum or whatever in Ireland, whenever that was, like a couple of years ago.
It's recent, yeah.
Yeah, she wrote an article for this magazine about a abortion she had in university.
Yeah.
And she got doxxed from that, and like loads of hate messages.
Yeah.
It got to a point that her and her flatmate had to move because of it, and so she's still kind of reeling from that because, yeah,
scary.
Obviously it was a bit shit. And one day she's having a bit of a rough day at work. Her boss is a bit of a dick, and she is listening to a radio station while she's working, and they're doing a giveaway for a once in a lifetime trip around the world. And she's like, do you know what? I might as well just ring up. And she gets through. So like someone gets through first, it's the 10th caller, and then they tell them the catch is you have to take someone with you, but we pick someone at random from your contacts in your phone, and that's the person you have to travel with. And that woman's like, no, I don't want to risk it, thanks anyway. So Dylan starts to phone up, and then she gets through and she gets picked, and she goes in and they pick a random contact, and it is a guy she met on a night out months ago who she ghosted, called Jack. And so they phone up Jack and they're like, hey, do you remember Dylan? And he's like, yeah, but she doesn't remember him at all. You saved as Jack the Posho in her phone, and she can't remember who it is. And Jack's like, yeah, I remember Dylan. And they're like, oh, so you two were like exes? And he's like, no, she ghosted me. She never phoned me. We were meant to go on a date, but she never phoned me. I had a restaurant picked out and everything, and Dylan's sitting there like, well, this is all good.
I just want a world trip.
Yeah. And they're like, will you go on this trip with her? And he's like, it'll make everything quite hard for me, but yeah, I guess so. Yeah, sure. So, they...
What the fuck?
So they go on this trip together, and you find out more about them. So he's in a job he hates, and he ends up leaving the job to go on the trip because he couldn't get the time off.
Yeah.
And they get to know each other, and they experience all of this fun stuff around the world, and they romance, because it's a romance
probably
book.
I'm going to like that one, probably.
It was really, really fun. It was really... I've said that about a lot of books, but this really was fun.
But who goes on a holiday with a rando from a bar that ghosted you? Who does a world trip with someone like that?
As someone that wants a world trip, maybe.
I mean, to be fair, that's something I would do for a paid world trip.
I mean, because I was thinking about it, and I was like, would I do it? And I was like, well, I don't clear out my contacts, so I would be very nervous if they were picking someone from my contacts.
Oh, I had a little cold earlier this year.
Need to do that. I asked my partner if he would do it, and he was like, well, I have a lot of customers saved, and that'd be awkward. They phoned up and was like, remember Nick, your locksmith? Do you want to go on a world trip with him? But yeah, so whilst they're on the trip, they kind of help each other come out of their shells. They both realise what they want to do with their lives. She tells her boss to stick it, blah blah blah. It was good.
I like it when they go on journeys.
Yeah,
and they self-improvement.
And it was I would say it was 2 stars spice wise.
Yeah, a lot of these ones are.
And they didn't have miscommunication. They had someone done fucked up. They didn't admit to it straight away. Yeah. It came out, the other person was rightfully angry about it, as opposed to miscommunication, which I hate. I hate third act miscommunication in romance.
I don't like it when it's poorly done, or where it's so blindingly obvious, and you can be kind of an obtuse person who doesn't pick up on these things to a certain extent, but there's a certain point where it's just nah, this is just silly.
When it's something that 2 grown-up people would just talk about in real life.
Ali Hazelwood does do this, I'm not gonna lie.
But they suddenly act like teenagers and can't talk.
Yeah no. Like in Loath to Love You, the one with the Nordic guy when she's stuck in the lift with him, and he thinks that the sex was too rough, and he's been feeling really bad, thinking he got the consent lines wrong, and that's what he thinks has gone wrong. And the whole time she was like, "Oh yeah, no, you poached some of my customers." So I'm like, and that's their miscommunication in the elevator until they get to the point where she's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" It's just like, oh god,
that's so typical. She's thinking about work, and he's thinking about sex. Yeah.
So on that theme, my next one is a romance.
Yay!
Oh no, wait. No, it isn't.
Can you do the romance story next?
I might as well do it now.
Because I've got another romance as well, so we'll do that.
Okay, I will finish on my fantasy one for me. Okay. I read Beach Read by Emily Henry.
Yay!
This was the week that I was fired. Well, made redundant. It's not fired. It's not the same thing.
So this is a nice escapism?
Yeah, that's basically... I had actually started Babel that week, but Babel was not the vibe for the week where you're having multiple meetings about why you might lose your job. So I popped home for something else, actually, and I was like, I'm going to get something fluffy.
Good choice.
So I got myself a fluffy romance, and I actually read it on one of the days where I took myself to we have an outdoor pool near both of us. So I took myself to the outdoor pool for the day and read it. Steph, I've got quite a collection now.
Yeah, I was just checking out. You got book lovers as well.
Yep.
I like book lovers.
I just bought the last Ali Hazelwood that I didn't have yet.
What's that?
Love Theoretically.
Yeah.
And then I've got this one.
I want to read that. Yeah.
That one. It was actually sent to me and my friend, who's one of our listeners, who lives in Japan.
Oh.
She was like, I finished it. She's like, no, I'm not going to keep it. Do you want to read it? And I was like, yes, please.
Oh.
And then she very kindly posted it without even asking me to pay postage.
Oh, we love you.
That was very nice of her. She tried to send me her Twilight books as well, but they were very expensive to post.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because those bitches are heavy. Although I don't know, I'm going to wait for the weather to turn. I think they might be my spooky season reads.
They're a good autumnal read.
Yeah. I saw a TikTok today that the weather's feeling very like, I can't do can you do the noise?
No.
The Twilight.
Especially New Moon, when, at the beginning, when she's just looking out the window.
Yeah.
That's it, that's autumn.
Yeah. That's me in autumn. Yeah. It starts to get dark early. Yeah, so beach read, basically our main character, the female main character, inherits a cabin on a lake, but the cabin is like the cabin where her dad used to have an affair, so she's got mixed feelings about being there. And then she realises she ends up in a cabin right next door to her school nemesis.
And they're both authors.
Both of them are authors. So they basically start making jokes about how they both got writer's block. And they basically decide to do, I've said basically about 100 times now, they decide to do to help them break their writer's block, they decide to swap genres, because she believes he doesn't respect her genre.
Which is romance.
And his is like kind of dystopian-y, real life.
Yeah, like literary fiction.
But it's heavily based on real life. He does lots of like in-depth research. And his current book he's trying to write, he's been researching for like 5 years.
It's like, really
it's into a cult.
Heavy, yeah.
So it's based in a cult. So the backdrop of the book's story would be a cult. So they decide to swap genres but keep writing their current ideas, kind of thing. And as part of the swapping genres, they do at the weekends they do education days in each of their genres. So he takes her out for research trips for his cult book, and she takes him out for like romance book trope moments,
like dates.
So dates essentially. Yeah. So they go like to the carnival together, and like they go out for, like, I can't remember, they do a beach walk with one of them. They cook together at one point.
This is the one where they went to college together, right? And they hated each other at college.
So she remembers it as hatred. Yeah. It was a miscommunication all along. But I really liked this because obviously the main character in this one is like a romance author. There's lots of breaking the fourth wall moments. If she's like, no, I'm not some bloody heroine in one of my books.
They do that in Book Lovers as well.
Yeah, and she was like, I'm not a heroine in one of my bloody books. We're not doing a miscommunication. Because they're like, there is a miscommunication, and she doesn't know how to talk to him about it. And they go out for a day trip together, and they're like in the woods and isolated because reasons.
Oh, yeah, when they're like camping.
So he goes to investigate the site where the cult was, and they end up having to camp there because of weather. And she's like, we're not fucking doing this. So I like that she just communicates with him, which is what I really hate about these books. Because like, if these two fucking adults just had a conversation.
I don't know if I'm mixing this up with Book Lovers. Is this the one where she goes to a book group? She gets invited to the book group.
So his aunt, Pete, owns a bookstore, has a book group. It's really just an excuse to get pissed. And
then he thinks we've got an author coming along, and it's him, isn't it?
He thinks he's been invited as a guest author, and then they start talking about some like ridiculous spy novels, and he's just like really blindsided about why he's there. And it's blatantly his aunt trying to fix the two of them up. Which is how they end up even making the deal they end up making, is because she gets completely... The female main character gets wasted at this book club because the person his dad had an affair with shows up.
Oh, yeah.
So she gets wasted, and he's like, well, you can't drive back. And she's like, I'll call an Uber. And he's like, there's one Uber driver who finishes at 11 p.m. Like, there's no... And he's half blind. Like, we're a small town. So he drives her home because they live next door to each other. And that's how they end up coming to a sort of truce and doing this thing. And then she realises over time that maybe she was wrong about how he was at uni, and he apologises for some of his more kind of incel-y behaviour back in the day.
I really like... I mean, it's not a spoiler because it's a romance, so they all happily ever after life. I really like when they have their like little routine of going for dinner at each other's houses and stuff, because I like that little mundane bit of relationships. I love that.
Yeah, like where they describe like their daily routine of like, we get up, I wave at him through the window, we both write for a bit.
Then we remind each other to have lunch or whatever, then we have dinner at alternate houses.
And we're selling... Or when they actually like... finally get together before like the miscommunication big moment happens, where they're like just having sex and writing, and then they start setting challenges for each other, like you can't come over until you've done 1,000 words, and that kind of stuff. I really like that, and like
they're just generally friends,
and it was like real, like really rich in like the love of books, and then also like writing stuff as well. So it was just like right up my alley.
All of her books are like that.
I having read a lot of Ali Hazelwood's recently, I'm tentatively saying I prefer this. I think this is my favourite one that I've read.
Tend to say like you have to pick between the two.
No,
I haven't read any Ali Hazelwood, but I would imagine I would prefer Emily Henry.
Ali Hazel ones have their place because they're very easy reading. You know, you kind of know what's going to happen, but they're just like nice comfort reads. They're the equivalent of chucking Friends on the TV.
Yeah,
they are safe, comfy, nice reads. Or like whatever your favourite binge show is that you just put on. And I've had a rough day, and I'm just going to chuck this on. Yeah. Whatever that is, it's that equivalent in a book. And I think those books have a place. I don't think we should I don't think people look down on them.
Yeah, no,
like,
not at all.
They're needed. They're like a palate cleanser, but like nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Whereas I think the beach read, they definitely had a bit more depth. The characters, like it just felt a bit more. Like I don't know. I think Ali Hazelwood, you can tell that she's written to a trope.
Yeah,
and they are very formulaic. Yeah. But yeah, I think those books have a place. But I think I prefer maybe a bit more plot with my smart. Unfortunately,
we have learnt that during your
journey.
Yeah.
Just need some plot. God, so annoying.
Okay, so my next romance is a YA, so a little bit different in terms of smart. Yeah. Hopefully. I read a love story by Lonely. I really hope I've pronounced your name right. Not that you're listening to this. This follows two Vietnamese American teenagers whose parents own Vietnamese restaurants opposite each other, and they hate each other, and they consider each other enemies. And and then so the kids have never really, they go to school together, but they've never really, oh, that feels nice, thanks.
Sorry, I just started fanning both of us. I'm trying to do it quietly.
They've never really spoken to each other because their families feud. And then they get like paired up together for a newspaper article, and then they realise that they actually get along, and then they start diving into the family's feud to try and like work out what happened. And they fall in love with each other at the same time, and it's just really, say it with me, cute.
Really cute and fun.
Because I've described everything as cute. It's really cute. They each as well, like, it's not just about them falling in love and navigating first love. And hiding it from their parents. It's also about them, because they're from like Vietnamese families, and their parents were the generation that moved there. So they're the first generation to be born in America. So their parents, on her side anyway, so they're called Bao, and what is she called? Lynn. So Lynn, her parents are very much you need to have a good job, you need to do good. Like her older sister,
make our sacrifices worthwhile.
Yes, we sacrifice everything to come here to give you a better life. Her older sister is at college learning to be, I can't remember now, but something approved by the parents.
Doctor, engineer.
Something, exactly. Oh, engineer actually, I think. No, they want Lynn to be an engineer. I can't remember. But Lynn wants to be an artist. That is where her passion is. She's good at it. They allow her to do art as a hobby, but she's got to take her real stuff.
She's got to do a serious job,
but she dreams of that being her career. And then Bao, as a male, he has kind of a different relationship with his parents. So his parents just want him to do something. He's floundering. He's not picking anything. They just want him to do something. And then so for the newspaper, he starts writing restaurant reviews, and she draws the food, and that's how they get paired up. And they get sent on like basically dates by the editor to go check out these restaurants and write reviews on them, and she draws the...
Yeah.
And then he discovers that he really likes writing and he wants to become a writer, and his parents are like, okay, as long as you take it seriously. Whereas she has like the complete opposite. Yeah, so it hits a lot of different notes, and it worked really well. Yeah, I just thought
I really wish
fun.
UK schools had like school newspapers that were that kind of serious.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's in films and TV a lot, but I think it is genuine. Like Gilmore Girls, like how seriously they take the
I was thinking that when I was listening to this, because I listened to it as an audio, and when I was listening to it whilst I was cooking, and I was like, oh, I wish they'd had stuff like that
I would have loved that at school.
Yeah, I would have really.
And it would have found. I tried to start. I was such a nerd. I tried to start a writing club when I was at school, and like 3 years 7 showed up.
My friends tried to start a cheerleading group at school, but it just didn't really go anywhere.
It's really hard to start these kind of things in British schools, I think.
Yeah.
So it's just no one wants... I don't know. When I was at school, no one wants to seem like they're interested in anything. Like, oh my god, I have interest. That's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm interested in so many things. Please let me play with you. Please. Please. Can I hyper-focus talk to you about this for an hour, please? Oh my god, it's so hot.
Yeah, it's really hot. How many have you got left?
Right, I got one more.
Okay, I've got 2, so perfect. Then we can get the fan on.
Should we do like one of yours, one of mine, and then one of yours to finish?
Okay, yeah.
Should we do it that way?
Blah. I'll do this one so we can finish on a high. Mm-hmm. Right, so this is one I finished this morning. So
it's fresh.
It is fresh. It's called The Mystery of 4 by Sam Blake, and it's a like a murder mystery. I'll read it. Murder is easy when it doesn't look like murder. Tess Morgan has finally made her dream of restoring beautiful Kilfenora house and gardens into a reality. So this is based in Ireland. But during rehearsals for the play that forms the opening weekend's flagship event, her dream turns into nightmare when a devastating accident looks set to ruin her carefully laid plans. So basically we follow a few characters, and honestly, for the first third of the book, I was really overwhelmed with all of the characters. It was too much.
Yeah.
I was like, and because it's done by one narrator, I couldn't even differentiate a lot of them.
So you're not switching? Are you switching POVs or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's a lot.
A lot, yeah, and it switches between I think it only switches between 3 or 4 characters.
That's still a lot.
But there's a lot of characters involved as well, and I just really struggled. And they're there's daughters, and then we follow the daughters and the mum and stuff, and I was just I can't remember who's related to who. I don't know why I really struggled with this.
Could have done with I don't know, a map in the overleaf of how everyone's related or something.
Maybe because I did it as an audio. Maybe the book does have a something like that, everyone, or Family Guide or whatever. So I'm not going to lie. The first third of this, I really was not getting along with it, and I considered DNF in it. So it follows Tess, who has bought this stately home and is refurbishing it, and the home has it's in a small town in Ireland, and it's rumoured to have a curse on it. There's been loads of stuff happening to the families of the house. And then it also follows Clarissa, who's an ex stage and screen star, and she has had a couple of children, and we follow one of her children, and she has retired to this small town. She's got her kids there and her grandchild, and then we follow this guy called Mark, who runs the local pub,
right?
And he lived in Australia, and now he lives in this. It's just too much. It's too much.
A lot, yeah.
Anyway, and people start dying at the house, and they're dying in ways that match how people die from the curse.
Right.
So we're is it the curse? Is it someone doing it? Obviously it's not the curse, because it's real life. And there's also, at the same time, the house has a reality TV show that are there because it's related to an old serial killer. It's just too much.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I'm getting stressed just thinking about it, and I literally finished it this morning. It was okay.
Oh, after all that, it was okay.
It was too much, and it was okay.
Yeah.
And the ending, I was like, at least it's done. So I think that says it all.
Okay.
It was well written. I would try something by Sam Blake again. This was not for me.
Yeah, too many things.
Too much. And also, I don't know, maybe I set myself up for something. Maybe I set myself up for disappointment because I do like crime. I like mystery. I don't really like thrillers. Maybe this is too much on a thriller type. I don't know.
Yeah.
Would not revisit.
So, my last one on the update. So I read The Last Graduate, which is the second book in the Scholomance series by Naomi Novik. Now,
isn't it Scholomance?
Scholomance? I don't know. Scholomance?
Because I thought like scholar because it was
Scholomance. Oh yeah, that makes sense. I've been calling it Scholomance in my head. With no authority if that's the right way to do it. It's just the way my head said it, and I was like, that's fine. Didn't check it.
No, yeah, I'm just and in my head was like Scholomance.
Does make more sense. I'm going to keep saying Scholomance.
Yeah, please do.
Scholomance.
Because I don't know if I'm right. So.
I don't know if I'm right. I could have looked this up, but I didn't. We're not professionals. So we talked about the first book in this series bloody ages ago, which was Deadly Education.
I've not read the second one yet.
So this is the second book I read.
That's
and now the third is my current read.
I want to reread A Deadly Education before I continue on because it was so long ago.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wish I'd gone back because it did take me a second to catch up. So there is little way for me to talk about the plot of the second and third books without spoiling the first, ending of the first. But
maybe just talk about the first.
In this particular world of these books, there are children who have magic, and there are things called mals that eat children with magic. They don't really go after adults because they're too much hard work to kill, so they tend to eat children. So basically your survival chances are very low unless you go into the Scholomance, which is a school that is your best odds so I think your odds are like 70% in the Scholomance of surviving rather than like 30% outside. I don't know, she does say these percentages in the book. And it's a school where there are no teachers, it's all magical. They submit sort of assignments to the magical void. And it's really hard. It's about surviving. But the purpose of the school was never meant to be that hard. And there is a machinery that was magical that was supposed to basically clear out some of the mals and stop a lot of them getting in. And that machinery broke down like 70 years ago and has never been able to be fixed. And so when you graduate, it's
just that no one's even tried to, have
they?
No,
well, they did send in various repair crews, you find out.
Yeah.
But those repair crews all died.
Yeah.
Because the graduation hall, which is like basically the hall you're just supposed to walk across when you leave, ends up being full of these mals that kill you. So graduation becomes kind of like a purge run. And you have to
That's a good description.
You literally have to sprint across this hall and it's full of mals. So then there's all this stuff that gets built up over time, like you have to make alliances and people to watch your backs to help you get through, and if you're not in an alliance you're very likely to die. And our main character is basically, she's naturally does dark magic. Her natural inclination is dark magic, and she's fighting that because of a prophecy made about her with all her will. So she's strictly mana, which is like the good magic. So good magic is called mana, bad magic is called malia. And because she's so afraid of the prophecy made about her, she's very, very strict, and she's strict mana, whereas everyone else cheats just a little bit, but not enough to... There's certain physical effects when you go too far into dark sorcery, but a lot of people just do the low-level stuff that doesn't make you have the physical effects. But because of the prophecy, she's like strict.
Yeah, so she makes everything harder for herself.
Yeah, and it also hasn't made her a lot of friends, because everyone's like vaguely terrified of her, but they don't know why. And it's because she's a dark sorcerer, and their hindbrain is recognising like threat.
So she's like trying to build up her mana by like knitting and doing press ups and stuff.
Because it's all a lot of the magic's to do with intention. So because this like task is so hard or annoying, it gets you more mana. And then there is a guy in the school called Orion who's just really good at killing mouse.
Yeah,
and he saves her life, and it pisses her off. She's like, I'm not some damsel and he's saving by Orion Lake, fuck off.
And she doesn't want to feel like she owes him.
So there's things called enclaves. So they are safe wizard havens that they're very elitist. So there's not, because these are built into the void, which is the same as the school, they're all built into this void out with like just a step away from reality. And there's very limited space. So in order to get a slot to join these enclaves, it's just highly competitive. But if you can get in, your children are going to more likely to be safe. They have better chances of surviving up until they get put into the Scholomance.
Share them manor and
stuff. So they have
you
mana
to
stores.
Bring something to it, don't you?
Yeah, they have mana stores that have been going on for centuries. So they have a lot of stored magic that the entire enclave can pull from. Whereas if you're not in an enclave, you've only got what mana you can make yourself.
Yeah, and so then you also have people looking out for you.
Yeah, and you're the entrances to all the houses are guarded, and so you're more likely to be safe as an adult as well as a child. And the enclave system is quite elitist, and it means everyone on the outside is just left to their own devices to die. And that's how our main character's grown up. She grew up outside of an enclave with a mum who's very against them, but has never explained her reasons why. And then so when Orion saves her, he's part of the New York enclave, and she's like, fuck you.
Orion!
But everyone else kind of hero worships Orion, and no one's ever just been friends with him because of who he is as a person. Yeah. And they kind of strike up a reluctant friendship, and the New York enclave panics, and he's like, oh, well, you could have a seat with us just because Orion likes you.
Yeah.
And all this kind of stuff.
This is the first time he's made a real friend.
Yeah. So she goes from being a complete loser and probably going to die in the graduation hall to being everyone knows who she is. And as more people take notice of her, more people realise she's a lot more powerful than she's been letting on.
Yeah.
And she makes friends. Besides Orion, where she's forced to begin the spotlight a bit more, she just starts making friends. And the end of the book is basically they decide to go in and fix the machinery so that the graduation class of that year can just get out. So they go to the seniors who have got all this stored mana and say, hey, if you give us your stored mana to help us fix the machinery, you're more likely to survive.
Yeah.
We're going to bring Orion, who's really good at killing mouse, and he's going to keep us safe. And so the second book is the consequences of that, because basically a lot more wizard children have survived, and the school's not used to supporting that many people. And there's just unforeseen consequences of whether or not they succeed. I'm not going to tell you.
It's just such an interesting concept, isn't it?
So her senior year, which is what set book 2 is very different from previous senior years because the threat of mouths is less for various reasons.
Yeah, they literally, when they go and get their foods, they have to check there's nothing in their food, or when they're washing their hair or whatever.
Yeah, so it's suspiciously not as threatening. But she is the only person getting attacked by mouths, and the school keeps making openings directly to her, and she's like, okay, the school is sort of somewhat sentient, and the school is pissed off with her. Yeah. And this is how she figures out why, and she figures out the purpose of the school's purpose was to keep the intent in the magic that made the school was to keep as many wizard children alive as possible. And the Scholomance has been technically doing that in the best way it knows how.
Yeah.
Because of the situation with the mouths that it couldn't fix. So it was doing the best it could, and then it suddenly found there was another way because they fixed the issue. And so the school is is somewhat sentient, is trying to prompt her to fix the problem. The school realises there's someone very powerful who could fix it.
Do it, yeah.
So then it's all about how she fixes the problem.
That sounds good.
And book 3 has been then the consequences of how they fix the problem.
No, it isn't the consequences of my own action.
And I genuinely can't figure out where this book is going or how it's going to end.
Oh, how far are you?
Oh my god! I told you I thought I might finish it.
Not even a quarter left.
I think if I hadn't been as tired last night, I would have finished it.
That's exciting.
But I literally cannot figure out where it's going, which I really like. But it's not in a badly written way.
No,
it's just
just
shit is going down.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's really good, and I really like the the narrator. I felt like I was talking for ages then.
You were. And you're like passionately talking about it as well.
They're good books, guys.
Yeah.
They're very, kind of, again, a bit Hunger Games and Divergent-y, but they're in a magic school for wizards. Yeah.
They're very Marmite. People either love it or hate it, and I can understand why people
My
hate
only
it.
complaint about the second book would be there is a lot of time spent about, like, the scheming around making alliances and the scheming about the plan when they realise that graduation isn't going to be the same for them. So there's lots of, like, scheming and alliances and planning going on. So there's a lot of that. It's like, I could just skip past those paragraphs. There's a lot of that. That's my only complaint about the second book.
Yeah, people who don't like it tend to not like it because is she called Elle? It's just an unlikable character.
But she is, but she's dark sorceress,
which is fine,
and she's fighting that with every part of her. But she is a bit of a bitch.
Yeah, so
but she admits she's a bitch.
So I can understand that some people don't like it because she
does make some poor choices, or she does treat the people around her like less good, but then you're inside her head and realise how hard she's trying.
Yeah. So the last book I'm going to talk about is called Bella Bright and the Ghost Game by Carolyn Ward. So this is a middle grade book, and this is like my start of my spoopy read. So this is a fantasy with.
Sorry, I had a mouthful of water and I thought that really distracted you then.
No, I was waiting for you to drink it. It's like fantasy, horror. It's spoopy, it's ghosts. So, 11-year-old Bella Bright has just moved into Darklyn House in Castleton. On her first day at her new school, she is spotted by a pair of manipulative mean girls, Skylar and Reagan. They push her into inviting them to a Halloween sleepover. Another much friendlier girl, Lex, comes to Bella's rescue and offers to join a sleepover to support Bella, who is delighted to be making a real friend. On Halloween night, things start getting spooky for the four girls when the huge front door appears to shut itself and their mobile phones lose signal. They decide to order pizza using a landline, but a hair-raising whisper comes down the line. Skylar suggests they play hide and seek, but as she utters the words, the house appears to wobble and they discover all the exits are impossibly locked. Bella searches the manor and a ghostly teenage girl appears in front of her. She reveals herself to be Alice, a young girl who died in a house 150 years ago during a game of hide-and-seek gone terribly wrong. She has hidden Bella's three friends and gives Bella a rhyming clue to find them in the enormous and carnivorous house. Bella has until midnight. After that, Alice will keep the girls as their playmates forever. It's really fun. It's got some really good illustrations in it as well. And I got sent like a little influencer pack with it.
I think I saw this on your Instagram.
Yeah, so it came with a letter that you're not supposed to read until you finish the book. I haven't actually opened it yet.
Oh my god, that's so
I
exciting.
need to do that.
You need to read it.
Yeah, it's on my bookshelf and I forgot to open the letter, so I need to do that, see what's in it. But yeah, and it came with like some little chocolate eyes and some little spiders.
Yeah.
And it was just really cute.
Yeah, I did see this on your Instagram.
Yeah, it's just like fun.
So is that already out or is it coming out?
That came out on the 31st of August, so that's out now.
Oh.
Yeah, so recommend. The main character's 11, so I would say middle grade. I would say from age 7 or 8 till whatever.
Well, how scary do you think it is?
I mean, obviously that's kind of subjective. It is quite spooky.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say like if your kid is a little bit nervous, maybe wait till they're like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun.
Sounds good.
I'm so ready for spooks. I'm so ready for it.
You're ready for autumn.
I'm so ready, and this weather is upsetting me greatly.
To be fair, you'd think I'd like autumn and Halloween because that's when my birthday is, but...
No, but you are a summer girl. You're a summer child. Oh, sweet summer child.
I am a summer child. I'm like, I'm going to go lie in the sun like a lizard.
Yeah. And I'm like,
skin cancer.
I want to... wear a jumper, sit under a blanket and drink a cup of tea. Yeah. Or hot chocolate with marshmallow.
It's like one time I was like, when we were on holiday, and I was just like, I was on the sunbed and I just kind of stretched and I smiled. And he was like, what's... Like, this person I'm dating was with me. And he was like, what are you smiling about? And I was like, I feel like a cat.
Just life.
I feel like a cat in a hot sun patch. That's how I feel right now.
I'm happy.
And he was like, what? And I was like, if I was a cat, I'd be purring. And he was like, what? And I was like, stop asking questions.
Like, I've described what's happening.
I've described exactly how I feel like.
That's
That's how I feel. I feel like a cat.
I'm done.
I feel like a cat in a hot sun patch, just like, yeah. I am kind of sick of being hot all the time, though. I will admit.
I'm not enjoying.
It's gone on a bit long. Because the week we had bad weather, I went to a place with hot weather.
Yeah, you haven't had your break yet.
Yeah. So I am a bit. I'd like it to be just a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be wearing jumpers. I hate jumpers, but pre-jumper weather, where it's just like I can walk around comfortably.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we've been reading recently. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Follow our story graphs, our personal Instagram. All of them are linked in our card, and then you can keep up to date on what we're reading. If you have any suggestions, go to our website and you can send us a message from there or DM us anywhere. The website's lazybookloverspodcast.wordpress.com. Please leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. It will really help us. It will get us boosted up in the algorithm so more people can find us, and we would really appreciate it, especially if you leave a text bit of your review, because then they boost it even more. You don't even have to talk about the podcast. You can just literally put in what your current read is. We would love that. And follow us everywhere. Join our Facebook group. We're going to try and actually
if you
do
actually
something
came
there.
there, we would do something
please,
there.
yeah, we would love to build a little community there.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for joining us this week, and we will speak to you next week for the big 90.
Yeah. Oh my god.
90.
We didn't really do anything for our 2-year anniversary, did we? Either, because we were both really busy.
No, I think we just tend to stick to the episode numbers, don't we? Rather than
we did do something last year. We just did a post on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hit our 2-year anniversary, and we're hitting 90 episodes. What are we gonna? Oh, what should we do for episode 100?
For 100, yeah.
We have to do something big. Can you guys give us suggestions?
Yeah, suggestions for episode.
I'm running
100.
out of silly things.
Maybe we could do like if anyone that cares send us like a request for an episode, and we'll do like a viewers requested episode or something.
Just give us talk to us.
Yeah. Come to our Facebook group and chat.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Right, speak to you later. Bye.